Thank you very much for coming and hearing this evening. I'll try to speak loud enough so that maybe even in the back you can hear. Is that okay? And maybe as a first step you might check and see whether your cell phone is tamed. We've been asked to speak about health and value of life in the contemporary world. And our perspective is that the problem we have is an imbalance of values. That we've placed our focus on something which is unhealthy and which is a way of life which is unhealthy and finally meaningless. In one of our books, some of our books are gradually appearing here, Srila Prabhupada, it said in Sanskrit, Kamasya nendriya pritir labha jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa narto yascheva karma. The meaning is that human life is not meant just for the gratification of the senses. To keep the tongue happy, to keep the ear happy, to keep the eye happy, to keep the genitals happy, is not the purpose of human life. The animals are also eating, they're also sleeping, they're also having sex, they're also protecting themselves. But the human being is meant for more than that. And if he expands his energy merely for sense gratification, then he's missing the point of life. And not only missing the point of life, but he's going to create a society in which suffering is increased. Kamasya, na indriya priti. Indriya priti means pleasing the senses. And kama means desire. Sexual desire, but all kinds of desire. Greed, inquisitiveness, and immediate gratification of the senses, sexual desire, and so on, have become the focus of modern life. We want more. We want to experience more. We want to feel more, and taste more, and see more. And what do we expect to get from it? This is not our business. The animals can gratify their senses sometimes more than we can. We want to eat, but the hippopotamus has a body like a dump truck and a mouth like a shovel, and it can eat far more than we can. Or if it's flesh, the tiger has greater opportunities for flesh eating than we have. So we can't even compete. The monkeys and the pigeons have more opportunity for sex than the human beings. The bear has more opportunity for sleeping. The business of human life is not to try to catch up with the bear, catch up with the pigeons and monkeys, try to catch up with the hippopotamus. That's not human life. That's polished animal life. There's another word in Sanskrit, dvipada pashu, an animal with two legs. Shakespeare said, a forked animal. If we only go for sense gratification, then we're polished animals. Polished animals. And more, we finally overload the senses, abuse the senses. In America, I think it's coming in South Africa also, I saw some article, obesity is just a runaway problem. Children who are obese, young men who are obese, old people who are obese. Because they want to gratify their tongue more. The belly is shouting, I want more. The tongue is shouting, I want more. And they're obedient to the demands of the senses. Yes, sir, yes, sir. And the result is they become enormously unhealthy. How many health problems are due to simple obesity? And then, because they're obese, they come to your gym to try to lose weight because their doctor has told them that if they're inviting a heart attack by your excessive weight. So then they come to the gym and work it off, and then they go back home and stuff themselves. Because Adantagopi, their senses are uncontrolled. They're trying to give more and enjoy more, and the result is that they suffer more. They invite disease, they invite early death, because the senses can't get more and accommodate more and more. In Africa, I suppose the biggest health problem is, or the most serious one, is AIDS, which is again a problem of uncontrolled senses. We want to have sex, but we want to have sex more. With this one, with that one. Marriage is not enough. There has to be this one and that one and the other one. Or in America, the AIDS problem is largely a homosexual problem. Or started largely as a homosexual problem. The opposite sexes won't do. We have to try the same sex. This way, that way. Somehow to satisfy the senses more. But that's not, as I said, the business of human life. And it leads instead to distress. The very things that I'm trying to do to increase my happiness become the cause of my distress. This greed takes international proportions. It has its personal dimension. I want more, and I'm getting fatter, or I'm getting AIDS, or what have you. Then there's the international dimension, where we collectively want more, and the result of our greed is war. Under the pretext of national security, of international stability, of this, of that, anti-terrorism. We send our armies, whichever country we happen to live in, especially if it happens to be on the western side of the Atlantic Ocean. We send our armies to plunder. We need more copper, we need more aluminum, we need more uranium, we need more diamonds, we need more gold, we need more, especially petroleum. Because we don't have enough. We want more. And of course, those who are involved with those issues usually have more than more. But more is not enough. It has to be still more. What I've been given is not enough. What you've been given is also necessary for our economy or our national development or for whatever interest you have. And so you get war on this pretext, war on that pretext. In Africa, you get proxy wars where tribes are supposedly fighting with one another, but there's always another player internationally in the back, several other players internationally in the background who are manipulating local tensions for the sake of international greed. And the result again is suffering. So the Bhagavatam says, Kamasya na indriya priti. This is not the business of human life. Labho jiveta yavata. Labha means acquisition, and yavata means as much as needed. Labho jiveta, to stay for life. Everyone has a right to live, and everyone has a right to a reasonable quota of what the earth has to offer. By God's arrangement, there's enough for everyone. And everyone is given a certain allotment. Everyone's given a certain allotment. When we accept that allotment and are satisfied with that, we can make progress. When we cultivate dissatisfaction and insist on having more, then trouble. Trouble for ourselves and trouble for others. So, labho jiveta yavata, Bhagavatam says, one should be satisfied with what he needs to live. The basic necessities of life should not be denied, but they should not be increased. We shouldn't create unnecessary necessities. What we need, labho jiveta yavata. In the Ishopanishad also it said, Ishavasham idam sarvam. Everything is ultimately owned by God. Ishavasham idam sarvam. The whole world. I'm claiming this is my property. He's claiming that's my property. This is my land. This is your land. This is for you. This is for me. We're thieves dividing honestly. It's God's property, and we're going to divide it among ourselves fairly. Like some thieves who robbed a bank, and they rush away in their getaway car, and they stop at their hideout, and they pull out the loot. And then they say, all right, gentlemen, let's divide this honestly. But they're thieves. It's not their property to divide. The property of the world is not ours. We come on the scene for some time. We leave. America, my great country, was owned previously by the Red Indians. Now some other people are claiming it's ours. Later some other people will come and say, get out of here, it's ours. In South Africa, the Afrikaners were claiming it's ours. Now others are claiming, no, you kept us down, it's ours. Meanwhile, the corporate interests are in the background, it's ours. No. Ishavashamidam sarvam. Everything is God's property. Yat kim cha jagajam jagat. Whatever there is, living or non-living. The animals also are God's. The trees are also God. Everything is God's. Tena chak tena kunjita. Everyone has a right to his own allotment. Magranha kashas vintana. But one should not take more. One should not take more. We want peace at the same time that we're trying to grab as much as we can and claim it to be ours. It doesn't work that way. Kamas Janendriya Pritir Lava Jivete Yavata Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa. The Bhagavatam says that this is not the point, to get bored, to try to satisfy my senses more. Then what is the point? Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa. Jivasya Tattva means the truth about who we actually are. Jiva means a living being. Jiv means to live. Jivasya Tattva means the truth about the living being. What are we? Jigyasa. Jigyasa means inquiry. As human beings, we're inquisitive, but we're misusing our inquisitiveness. We're asking, what's the price of this? What's the price of that? Where can I get this cheaper? We're inquisitive about the lives of movie stars. But we're not inquisitive about who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose in life? I'm thinking I'm the body. If you ask me who I am, I say I'm American. I'm 62 years old. This is my family. This is my community. But this is all in terms of the body. I'm an American because my body was born in America. I'm 62 because it was born 62 years ago. I'm a member of this family because of this body. I'm a member of this community because of this body. I'm white because of this body. Black because of this body. And we think of ourselves in terms of the body. These designations of the body. And we don't even stop to ask, is this true? Am I this body or am I something else? I'm dedicated to the body. People will come very seriously to your gym to keep the body fit. But will they ask themselves, is there something more than the body? Maybe sometimes they do. Mostly we expect that they don't. The body is everything. For the body, I'll take an hour out, I'll take 2 hours out, I'll take 5 hours out. And for inquiring, why am I suffering in this world? Who am I? What is the purpose of my life? Why am I here? For that, no time, very busy. But the Bhagavatam says this is the real business. Otherwise, for meeting the bodily demands, the animals are adept also. The birds, the fish, they're all meeting their bodily demands. And without going to college, without joining a political party, they get their food, they get their place to stay, they have their family life. But why is the human being so engrossed in working hard for the same objectives that the animals are meeting without so much sophisticated effort? We're missing the point. As human beings, we're given more facility because we have a higher purpose. In America or here, the chief executive always has a big mansion. And he's got people to do things for him, and he's got his own car and his own security services and so on. Why? It's because he has greater responsibility. Because he's the most responsible executive in the national government, he's given all of these special privileges and other facilities so that he can execute his purpose of running the state. If he thinks, now I have all this facility, let me enjoy, then he's abusing his privileges. If he thinks, now I have a big mansion, at night I can invite so many women to come. One of our beloved American presidents had that qualification. He's misusing, probably more than one is known for. He's abusing his privileges. He wasn't given the mansion for that. It's for the more important purpose. So the human life has a more important purpose. And therefore we have higher intelligence. Our greater facility is our higher intelligence. For bodily strength, we're defeated by so many other animals. For longevity, we're defeated by the trees. For height, we're defeated by the trees. Even for width, we're defeated by many trees. So our real higher advantage is human intelligence. That human intelligence is meant for spiritual inquiry. Jivasya tattva. Jivasya tattva means to understand the truth about myself. Am I this body? Is life nothing more than chemical processes bubbling away? And if so, then what is the meaning of life? If I have a beaker of chemicals and they fall off the shelf, is that a national tragedy? Or personal tragedy? Do I weep over the loss of a beaker of chemicals? But if my mother or my father or my friends are nothing more than beakers of chemicals, if they die, so what? Or whatever happens to them, so what? And yet our great intellectual leaders, our scientists and philosophers, tell us that you're nothing more than chemicals bubbling away. That the physiological entity is the entire entity. That there's no ghost in the machine, no spiritual component. So then what is the use of human life? So the Vedic sages were the teachers and prophets of every legitimate religious tradition teach us that there's something more than just this body. The body is temporary. It has a beginning, it has an end, it will be finished. But the consciousness within the body is eternal. It isn't born, it doesn't die. But it animates the entire body. When the consciousness is present within the body, consciousness, spirit, soul, whatever, atma, whatever word you like, while that spark is present within the body, then the body is worth something. The doctor will try to save that life by whatever efforts he possibly can. And when that consciousness leaves the body, then you call another professional to dispose of it. Nobody wants to embrace that body, no one wants to keep that body, because the essential component is missing. That's the actual self. Whether the body is alive or the body is dead depends on the presence of that actual self. When the self is gone, the body is nothing. So the Bhagavatam says that should be our focus of inquiry. We should try to understand our spiritual nature. That should be our business. Narto yasceha karma. Karma means work. We're all working. But when we're misdirected, we're working for sense gratification. To satisfy our senses, to enjoy more. And Bhagavatam says no. Wrong direction. The work should be performed. We have our duties to do. Even to maintain the body, which we need to do, we have to work. But maintaining the body is not the whole purpose. Satisfying the demands, the senses of the body is not the whole purpose. Purpose should be jivasya tattva, to inquire about our spiritual nature. Jivasya tattva jigyasa, to cleanse our consciousness, to purify our consciousness. There must be some method to purify the heart. Cheto darpanam arjuna. When a mirror is dirty, we can't see ourselves. We see the dirt. When the mirror is clean, we can see ourselves. The dirt comes especially from the lower qualities of our nature. In Bhagavad Gita, the analysis is given that there are three qualities: goodness, passion, and ignorance. In goodness, we seek knowledge, we live a clean life, we eat in a manner that's temperate and healthy, we're regulated in our activities, we're self-controlled. In the mode of passion, we're always striving for more. We want it more hot, more salty, more sour, more quantity, more everything. We want more sex, we want more experience. We want more gold, we want more copper, we want more aluminum, we want more of everything. We want to enjoy more because we desire more. And in the mode of ignorance, we're drunk, we're stoned, mad, we're moping, procrastinating, sleeping. When passion and ignorance are the prominent modes, then human society becomes degraded. Human society becomes degraded. When goodness is prominent, we make progress. Therefore, again, all spiritual traditions are advising cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Self-control, self-restraint. Spiritual inquiry. Pursuit of knowledge. Jivasya tattva. Jiva means the living being. Jiva also means God. Every living being is connected with God. Every living being is connected. Every living being is part of God. We're not God. God is great and we're small. God is infinite, we're infinitesimal. But we're parts of God. We have a relationship with God. Just as you're sitting on the chair, so there's a relationship. The chair is holding you and you're sitting on it. So there's a relationship of every living being with God. And jivasya tattva jigyasa means that we should be trying to advance in our understanding of that relationship. Narto Yashjaya. Other things are less important. Whether I buy a Galaxy or an iPad is not going to matter at the time of my death. So many other great issues are of no consequence at the time of death. But my life will be summed up by the extent to which I've developed my relationship with God. The extent to which I've come to understand the Supreme Person, the Supreme Personality, God. To that extent, my life is successful. And that's the project of human life. And when human life is directed to that project, then the other problems diminish. If I'm focused on spiritual advancement, cultivation of knowledge, developing my relationship with God, then I'm not focused on getting AIDS, doing things that will get me AIDS, doing things that will make me obese, robbing my neighbors. Everyone's busy trying to solve those problems without reference to the larger context. And therefore the problems are not being solved, and if anything, they're multiplying or increasing. The problems will not be solved in that way. We can't solve any problem without reference to God. No problem will be solved. No personal problem, no national problem, international problem will finally be solved when we see ourselves independently of God, and when we think the body is everything, and gratification of the senses, individually and collectively, is our purpose in life. We'll never solve our problems under those circumstances. We have to recognize the real problem of life. That I've forgotten my relationship with God. That I've forgotten my spiritual identity, my spiritual nature. And that I'm therefore too much focused on trying to satisfy the demands of the body. If I say we've forgotten our relationship with God, we have some religious affiliation, and I say I'm Christian, I'm Hindu, I'm Muslim, I'm Jew, I'm this, I'm that. But then in the actual picture of what my life is about, what's happening? Is that focus, is that understanding there? This is my focal point. This is what I'm meant for. Or is it just a department? Yes, another designation. I'm American, I'm white, I'm black, I'm 62, I'm 48, I'm Christian, I'm Hindu, I'm Jew, I'm this, I'm that. Another bodily identification. I was born Christian, or I was born Hindu, I'm born this, I'm born. Again, without deeply probing into our real nature. So the Vedic sages, or sages of every spiritual culture, will say that this should be the business of life. To understand our real nature, and to understand our relationship with God, to act in that relationship, not just some, yes, I'm this, I'm that, but to actually act. Just like if I say I'm a doctor, I have to act like a doctor. I can't just throw a few letters up there and say I'm a doctor. I have to qualify. I have to repeatedly qualify to keep my license. I have to treat patients. I have to stay up with the latest developments in the profession. Then I can say I'm a doctor. I have to act as a doctor. Then I'm a doctor. So if I have a relationship, I have to act in that relationship. If I'm married, I can't just say, yes, I'm married, and then I act as if I'm not. I have to act like a married man or a married woman. Then I can say, yes, I'm married. There's establishing the relationship, or recognizing the relationship, then acting in the relationship. And then the final thing is love. And finally we're meant for devotion to God, love for God. That's the real purpose, real goal, real target in human life. And we can consider to what extent we're missing that target in our individual lives, national lives, international lives. To what extent are we understanding that target, hitting that target? That's the real project. This chanting that we did in the beginning is meant for purifying the heart so that we can understand these topics. Krishna and Rama are names of God. There are so many names of God found in every religious scripture. And one is recommended to recite or chant the holy name of God, whatever name one may find for the Supreme Person in one's literature. By reciting those holy names, one purifies them. God is in the heart of every living being, and when we chant the holy name of God, God sees this person is chanting about me. He's reciting my name. And so he acts as a well-wishing friend from within the heart to purify our consciousness, our understanding, so that we make real advancement toward the goal of life. And that's our summary presentation for the evening. We published many, many books to explore these topics, and we have this chanting process, which is a practical means for action, for spiritual advancement. So thank you very much for taking these subjects seriously, for giving your kind attention. And if you have any questions that you might like to ask.